Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 riders, the Yorkshire Pudding Express, are deciding to go on the offensive early. Look at this. Mitch Ferry and Phil Graves. I tell you what, let's just go down the road. 2K separating screens. 1 and 2, the categories 1 and 2. A little bit lower down, you can see the category 3 currently at 14.6, 14.8 K, and it's 16.8, so 2 kilometers separating category 3 and category 4.
We've got a little bit of a push on the front, and that little bit of a push is coming further down as they all go over the top and stretch now. You know, Martins is the one pushing here.
SS going off down the road, and I think the UAE clan team thought, hang on a minute, let's fire some more people off down the road. SS is a really strong rider.
Sprat is still out, but that category 1 pack is coming. Sprat is really working hard now to try and stay ahead, but Alfib is pushing 8 watts per kilo. Knudsen is at 7. Osborne is there too, and they are pushing hard to make that catch. Fink and Safrazad going past Mendoza and Suarez, who had been our lead riders on this road for over an hour of this race today.
So here we go, the second qualifier of January. We have seen the return of the one and only Michael Vink. He's going to come through. He's kicking hard to the line. He's being chased behind by a huge group of riders, but Michael Vink comes through and takes victory. Hello and welcome to MyWhoosh, to the Sunday Race Club, to qualifier race number 3. It's the 15th of January 2023, Martin Luther King's birthday, as it happens. And we've got some amazing racing taking place across what is a fantastic course, because we are back onto one of my favourite race routes. My name's Matt Payne, and I'm going to be bringing you all of the action along with my co-host, and that is Emma Martin, who is down in the studio with me. Good morning, Emma.
Good morning.
Well, it's good morning where we are, but of course we're global.
It is, so good afternoon or good evening wherever you are in the world today.
Indeed, and we have an absolute cracker coming up. It was great racing last week, wasn't it? I mean, I absolutely loved that chase into the finish. Not sure it'd be the same today. Take us through today's course, Emma.
Yeah, so we are on a different course today. We are on the Aluha Heritage Climb finish. So today, 45 kilometres of racing, 506 metres of climbing. That's 4 climbs in total for our men today, with a finish on top of our Category 3 climb. So that Category 3 climb at the end, 6.2 kilometres in length. 5.2% average gradient, but there are some really steep sections on that climb because it is not a linear upward trajectory. It is a stepped climb. We have flat sections and we have a couple of downhill sections as well on that climb, and getting your timing right is absolutely essential today for that finish. We've also got 7 segments on the route today where we will be able to see the timings, Matt, to give us some indication of racing.
Come, looks like we're going to be in for a fun one again on this course now. Well, our categories, as I'm sure everybody knows now, setting off at 4 different times for their start. We are going to be watching category number 4 first of all. There are riders in the red jerseys with, oddly enough, number 4 on the back. Good race field here, Emma.
There is indeed. So whilst we have no teams on the start line today, we do have 14 riders on the start sheets, and everybody who has finished top 5 in the last 3 weeks of racing is in that field today.
So every top 5 rider is in. Who will take top 5 today? Away we go from our race start. We're away. Qualifying number 3 is up and running.
It is indeed, as we're in with Kamesh, and Kamesh is pushing on these riders. Getting this start is absolutely essential, and they really understand this. We've got a flat section for about just under 2 kilometres on this course before we start that first climb. So these riders are pushing on and pushing strongly to form that front group and try and whittle it down early.
So just keeping an eye on these riders they set off. Now, Emma, we've had some serious racing on this course before. Our Category 4 riders, they know they need to push and try and get a gap on the course, and we see that week in, week out. This is a course where having that sliding room is even more important, isn't it, because of that final climb?
It is indeed, but it's also a course where our first three climbs are not particularly steep and they're not particularly hard. So our three early climbs are pretty much all sub-average gradient of 2%. Now, if this pack worked together, Matt, we could actually see the draft and the size of the group being of benefit to these riders to stay out, because they could stay well clear of the other riders for a long time today if they are smart and if they work together as a pack and utilize the draft and utilize the pace of the group.
And hiding in that pack basically means if you've got 15 riders, you only go to the front winning 15 times if everybody's working and everybody's pulling evenly on the front. Of course, that's not always the case. There's always somebody sat there not doing the work for whatever reason, when they're being tactical or whether they just can't put that pace down. But it is still always generally quicker in a bunch than it is solo. So it'll be interesting to watch those tactics and watch where people decide to squeeze on and maybe test the legs of the riders. So our Category 4 riders away first here on MyWhoosh. Don't forget, of course, all of the results up on the mywhoosh.com website from our previous races. So when we talk about our previous winners, you can go back and look back and see who was winning in Category 4 last week. With Mendoza taking the win from Suarez, then Kamze, then Caballero, then Finati. They were the top five. But really interesting to see how these riders get on this week. Don't forget, of course, our riders needing to get 2 verified results in the 4 qualifiers before we move on to our finals.
Yeah, and I think that's something worth noting, isn't it? Because the results on the MyWhoosh webpage are not official until all that verification has taken place. So expect potential changes until verified rides are confirmed.
Indeed. So our Category 4 riders away. Last week's winner Mendoza nicely tucked in to that group. Let's see what happens with that. So you can see our first, second and third category riders lined up. 17 minutes, 12 minutes and 2 minutes to our race start. Our Category 3 riders, the next riders to go. And that is going to be our riders in the blue jerseys. And those blue jerseys are going to be chasing the riders in front. There'll be a bit of distance between them now. And remember, our Category 3 riders have some very strong riders in there. And we'll take us through the race field.
Yeah, so the race field today is a really interesting one. We've got 31 riders on the start sheets today in this Category 3 race, and a number of teams today. So the UAE Road Warriors, Team Strikers, Fat and Furious, as well as Core One in here today. So it's looking really strong, you know. Again, we have real strong representation from riders like Dadson, Parisi, Lopez, Simio, Restrepo. You know, these riders are regularly in the top 5.
They are indeed. I mean, Restrepo taking the win last time round and one of our individual riders, but that does mean that you don't get that support when you're maybe chasing down a group. You maybe have to do that little bit more work, don't you, on the way through, and that makes a difference. Whereas if you have a team, you could send somebody else off down to chase people. So on the left-hand side of your screen, the riders in Category 3 are waiting. Category 4 just splitting as we see Kaluma just starting to push clear on the front of Category 4, just opening a little bit of a gap on this climb. So they're on to that first climb, and 2.5k covered on Category 4. That's the gap. Our Category 3 riders are going to have to chase it into the last 20 seconds. Last 20 seconds of a countdown here. So here we go, Emma. Take us through these riders going away on category number 3.
Yeah, so with 5 seconds to go, we are in with Lopez and that Category 3 field as the power goes down, and away our riders go for qualifier number 3 of the January MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They hit this roundabout and around they go, and they take that turn, and they are now out of the gates and they are onto that course and they are rolling. So with Simio here, the power is down, and these riders are really putting some intention on this course as Magat really pushes hard. We're followed by Dadson, followed by Mamba. These riders are really trying to make that catch and make that catch early.
So you could just see there, Magat going off hard, gets a little bit of a gap, but the rest swamping over the top here as they really rocket up to pace. I mean, we're seeing 40 kph at the moment. That's 25 miles per hour if you work in imperial measurements. Big pace kicking off from the start. We do usually work in kilometers and meters, quite simply because that is the currency of esports, and esports and all e-cycling all works in kilometers and meters. And that's kind of how it works. If you're old school, change over, because quite often it just feels better when you're riding at 20 kph, not 12 miles an hour. Don't I know it?
We all like to go a little faster, and playing with the numbers sometimes helps with that. It's a little mental mind game as well, isn't it? You know, if you feel like you're going quicker, you are going quicker. As we're in with Cameron Dadson, we saw a Dadson 1-2 attack from Cameron, as well as Mark Dadson last week, and Mark Dadson pushing on and finishing in the top 5, as we just see Staples Flyer down the road there. So we've just seen one of our Category 3 riders take an absolute flyer as we drop back in with our Category 4 race. Now, this pack, Matt, have settled, haven't they? They've settled well, and they are rolling together very, very nicely on this course.
Yeah, Kaluma, who was clear on the front now, as you can see that we sat in with, now dropping back into this group. He went clear on that climb, but the power of the pack has pulled him back, or he's taken the choice. I'm going to stretch my legs, give myself a little bit more of a warm-up, just see how I'm feeling today on the platform. Meanwhile, seeing another push here. So Martinoli going clear. So Nicolo Martinoli opening the gap on Magat. Interestingly, up at the front with Staples, Lopez, Mamba and Dadson, all looking at the front of this, looking at this gap opening up. You can see the response as the riders watch the climbing, but pushing 355, nearly, wow, going up to nearly 400 watts now. That is a big push. Good revs as well there. You notice the pedal cadence nice and high on these riders. They are really spinning it up early, which is a great way to start. If you start hard and use a big gear, you're going to damage the muscles really early on.
Yeah, but that is a determined effort from Martinoli, putting in an absolute sprint going off the front of that group. He's got 4 seconds at the moment, but one rider on these pretty flat lands at the start versus a pack, it might be a little bit early to stick your nose out front.
I think if you do it, you're doing it just because you want to stretch your legs. I don't think you're doing it because you're going to get away, because I think that is a massive ask to go clear and to stay clear on this particular course. However, we will get a snapshot, as Emma mentioned earlier on. We have segments on the way through the course, 7 segments, which are individual snapshots of that segment time. So it's not based on who goes through it first. It is a time trial between the riders, and it gives you a real good indication of how the riders are racing. So categories 4 and category 3 are up on to the course. 4 on the right hand side of your screen, 3 on the left-hand side of your screen. We have seen individual riders push clear and be pulled back in all of our categories, and you can see Mark Dadson is the man who's doing the damage to Martinoli's lead here. Simeo has seen the danger of letting Dadson go up the road and has chased hard, and you can see behind, I think this group is going to come all back together again, and that's when you need to watch for that counter attack, because they're going to come together on the climb, and this is dangerous here for a rider who's pushed on. So Martinoli needs to be very, very attentive now, because when you are caught on a climb after putting an effort in, that is when it's very easy for the pack to come past you and you can be in real trouble.
Yeah, it is indeed. And look at that. We're seeing that stretch take place to that category 3 pack, but now they're all snowballing back in together again. And that group is now really tight as they come towards the top of that climb. We don't have many riders pushing off the back here, and they have all concertinaed back together again.
Yep, the compression as the pace eased on the front as they came back and made that chase. That compression is when you often will see somebody sprinkling. Nobody doing that as a 1-2 counter attack at the moment in category 3 here. So that initial little skirmish has resulted in a little bit of a truce, I think, at the moment, as they all take a breath on the way through. So at the moment, 5.5 kilometers covered for our category 4. And I'll put my teeth back in. 3K covered for category 3. So 5 for 4, 3 for 3. Category 2, next riders to start.
It is indeed, as we're seeing a little attack off the front, and it's Cameron Dadson that's pushing on with Mark Dadson in two. We talked about a Dadson 1-2 last week when they pushed on, and it looks like they're starting to think about it again, as Cameron Dadson is the one that takes this sweeping right-hand bend in the front of that group.
I'll tell you something, if we could give away a combativity award based on our views, I think Cameron Dasson would be right up there over the last couple of weeks because he has kept on putting these attacks. He's really aggressive racing. And that's what we like. I can't speak for Emma. That's what I like to see. Emma might like to see the whole group together all the way to the end and she can analyze the data in peace. But personally, I want to see those attacks. I want to see that aggression. I want to see people looking to try and break the racing and make the racing happen.
Yeah, it is all about making that racing happen, isn't it? And it takes a really brave rider to do that sometimes and to stick their neck out of the pack. I'm going to put my teeth in today as we're seeing Cameron Dadson actually stretch that group along the road.
It's catching in the studio here today, clearly, as we're far too excited about the racing that's happening. Either that or we all press the wrong button on the coffee machine as we came into the studio. So, category four are up. Let's have a look. 6.26, 6.27K. 3.7 behind is 3.8 now for category 3, chasing hard at the moment. So you can just see that power difference in between these riders. They're on a very similar proportion, of course. They're a very similar gradient. There's hardly anything in it. There's less than 1% separating the gradient in these riders, but the numbers very, very different indeed. So let's see who's going to take this out. We've just seen our riders going in through our segment 2 that time for Kaluma at 1:45. When our category 3 riders get there, then that will give us an indication of how fast they are going in comparison, and it does make a big difference. But getting plenty of distance here, Emma, from category 2, who are sat and probably biting the fingernails at this moment in time because it must be getting ready to wind up.
Well, it is about 2.5 kilometres between category 4 and category 3. Going back to category 2, it looks like they're going to have 7 or 8K on category 2 before they start today.
Indeed, now the attack's going here on the front, and it's Mark and Cameron Dadson again trying to make this racing. They're going clear. This time it's Mark Dadson. Remember, Mark was right up there in the finish. Cameron, in the end, finished in what was 15th place. So at the end, after all that, I think he managed to get 15th with Mark, though, up there in 5th position. So it's seen some great moves by them. Interestingly, it's Restrepo who took the win and Simeo who's second, who are doing a lot of the work to chase them down.
Yeah, and I think the tactics with these 4 different race starts, people are starting to bed into this 4 different starts and starting to play with different tactics. And you know what, Matt? It's really great to watch and see riders trying different things.
It is indeed. So Mark Dadson with the attack, 4 seconds clear. Simeo, Restrepo, Parisi are chasing you in with Simeo at the moment. So looking like they won't let him go. It's 5K covered and 7.5K covered now for categories 3 and 4. My goodness, they've opened the gap on category 2. There's going to be some serious work to do back there.
There is indeed, and that stretch now that's happening to category 3, you just saw in the top right-hand corner of the screen, it has really stretched the group, and people in that category 3 race are now in danger of coming off the back of that pack.
So you can just see 1, 2, 3, and 4 on your screen. Category 2 now into the last 40 plus seconds to go. Quick run through this race field, Emma. The team, well, which team would it be? But UAE Falcons, but a big pack of individuals.
Yeah, there are indeed. So 40 riders on the start sheets today. So it's going to be a big category today with some really interesting racing. And I'm looking forward to the category 2 tactics today.
Yep, I mean, we've got riders like Spratt in there. We've got Spina. We've got Gates in there. Rego, Rodriguez, Baltazar in there. Sebastian Wolf, Bello, as well as Remetri in, of course, the UAE Falcons. It's a who's who coming in. So let's see who's going to take this out. Category 2 about to start here on qualifier 3. Away they go. We're in with Bello, and you can see out of the saddle, quickly kicking down hard as they come out of the pen. It's a turn on to the course proper, and away they go. Will they bring everyone out? I think we've got 1 or 2 riders already in a little bit of trouble, being distanced behind. big pack of riders. So in category 2, chasing categories 3 and 4.
Yeah, so as we're in with Hassan Al Ramethri, an absolute master of a long climb at the finish of the race, we can see this pack are a little bit stretched, but they're all starting to concertina together. And I think this is going to be one very large group on the road today.
I think it is. I mean, we've got to watch out for riders. I mean, people like James Krasnich, he's been up there all the way through. A rider who we know can be right into the mix. Angarita in there. I mean, but to be honest, if you go through this sheet and you just highlighted them with a highlighter pen, you probably highlight over 50% of the race field as having the potential to be in that top 3 to 5 riders comfortably, maybe even more. And it is a really close category. And I think if you wanted close racing, this is probably the category that gives you that, even though we see single winners like Spratt.
Yeah, and as you say, Matt, Spratt took the win last week, but let's not forget Il Pino was absolutely dominant in this category to racing through the first week in January and in the December finals. But with that progression to category 1 that he had last week, it did leave the field open for a different winner, and Spratt stepped into that with Giuliano, Kranic, Cadiz and Bogren in there. But Maglio is a really strong rider. Angarita is a really strong rider. You know, we've seen some absolutely amazing performances and some big packs of 7 or 8 riders going into the finish lines, with less than 2K to go for those top 5 places.
I mean, we've got people like Carl Salius in here. Carl, of course, capable of taking and has taken wins in category 2. Took a ride round. I mean, I was just having a look. He was 54 minutes down, but the end of the ride at the end of last week's qualifier. That says to me that he'd done some seriously hard training. He'd then spun his legs around during that race, got the qualifying ride done. So he's qualified, but then making sure that he got the lactic acid out of his legs and then, of course, ready. And will we now see the results of that training? Because that's the way it works, isn't it? You train, you rest, your body re-knits itself even better than it was before, rebuilds itself. You go from the 1.0 to the 1.1, the 1.2, the 2, 2.1, 2.2, and then you keep on moving up through. And that's how you get faster.
Yeah, you do indeed. And talking about getting faster, this category 3 race is now got 2.2K to the category 4 race. So they are faster on the road and they are slowly starting to pull that category 4 pack in.
They are indeed. So one pack sat waiting. Category 1, our Premier Division, the elite of the elite, the riders we expect to be taking the fastest times overall. Michael Vink took it in the end from Pablo Popovic, who chased out his teammate, but the UAE clan team finishing 4 riders in the top 7 showed that they meant business on the course. It was a tough course, because we were in Australia last week. What will happen this week? We finish on the top of the climb. I can't wait to see it. And I'm really looking forward because, of course, we've got the new Arabia World, the revamped Arabia World coming. I'm hoping we get to finish back on the top of the Jebel Mountain. So here we go. Our riders in category 1 lined up. We're in with Lionel Verjassin. Some amazing riders in here and some great teams who keep us entertained with their aggression, not least of which is the team from the UAE clan team. They were the team to beat. However, they are being challenged on that top spot, and it was great to see them back in there. The Danish Pavlova squad with Knudsen this week, the Italian Gelato squad, Norin and Mer putting in some great rides as well. And great to see them in action. The Belgian Waffle squad with Lionel Justin, who are just doing Stefan van Elst. And of course, the Swedish Canadians, Jonas Bjarhead, always in the mix. But the Yorkshire Pudding Express, Graves and Ferry, very aggressive early on.
Yeah, they were last week, weren't they? So there are 51 riders on the start sheets in category 1 today, alongside those 6 teams. But I can tell you who's not on the start sheets today, and that is Michael Vink. He has indeed been called up for duty by his road squad on the Tour Down Under.
He has indeed. Who's going to take it when he's not here? Let's see.
It's going to be really interesting as Verjassin is in. We are in with an 8.8 watts per kilo as Verjassin kicks off that start line to ensure that he goes clear with the front of that leading category 1 pack. As they come into this roundabout, they take the bend and they are out on the course proper for qualifier number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club in January.
So a quick kick off from the start. We're just seeing Bushmuller of Jasin chasing down our lone leader at the moment. It's Lenador who's got that slight gap. Don't know whether he intends to make that stick. We're just seeing him, I think, get clear and making sure that he's not going to be left behind. In fact, they're left chasing him. And this early move is doing damage. You can see top right-hand side of his screen that there are riders scrabbling to get into the group. And this kick off here by Mac just going to be opening up those gaps a little bit here today.
Yeah, it did indeed. And that was a really big kick off the start line, and one that wasn't quite required to actually maintain a safe distance with that bunch. But you're right, Matt, there are one or two riders at the back of that group who are now in trouble.
Well, that's one way to thin it down quick. Don't let them get onto the express train as it leaves the station. Leave them running along the sleepers on the train tracks instead. And I think that's happened. Really good to see that Francis Ilpino, the rider we were talking about, who's progressed up from Category 2 to Category 1, in the mix and in this group. Rolik in here. We've got a lot of other. We've got Costa coming through. I've seen in the group Al Thebe in here. Now, Raquel El Thebe, another rider who does a lot of work, but hasn't yet seen the results of those labours. The fruits of those labours should be coming, but he just needs to refine that race tactics, I think, a little bit. He burnt a lot of energy early on, so unless he deliberately was pushing it out there, I think a little bit more refinement, a little bit more careful use of where he uses that energy, and a little bit more cynical riding almost will be required, I think, just to give him that race win, because it's all very well being the strongest, but you want to be the race winner.
Yeah, but there is the other thing, isn't there? Al Thebe is actually quite a brave rider. He regularly tries to actually make the racing. Now, making that racing and making that play is really important. And you know what, Matt? I think if he continues to ride as he is, he will eventually take a win, because that pace and that push, he will just get stronger and stronger, and actually work towards that win himself.
Well, if I was a betting man, I'd say he's going to take that win within 9 races from now. There you go.
Oh, we shall hold you to that. I shall write that on a piece of paper and stick that on my screen so that we have that for future reference.
Thanks very much. Reminded of that for the future. That's what I always wanted. Right, let's take a little look at our riders out on the course. So our riders head out. Remember, of course, they are chasing each other. We've got the pace high on the front of Category 1 with Al Thebe really winding this up. We'll see just how fast when they hit the first of our segments, where we'll get some relative time gaps. Now, our fastest Category 4 rider going through was Kaluma on segment number 1. He went through that first segment in 20 seconds off the fastest time. He's 20 seconds down on the leader. Our Category 3 fastest rider, well, our Category 3 fastest rider, he went through 90 seconds down, and that was on the time set by Hamdan of the UAE Falcons, who went through in a 1:38. So the Category 3 and 4 going through in 2 minutes, 1:38 for our Category 2. However, Category 1 riders, when they hit that first segment, should be setting a much faster time. But we saw how quick that Category 2 race start was. Category 1 sometimes start a little bit slower but finish quicker.
Well, I don't think this Category 1 race is starting slower today. Currently sitting around 5.85 watts per kilo on the front of this. Ferry's at 5.6, Bushmiller's at 4.1, Safrazad's at 5.9, Graves is in there, Rolik is in there, Van Elst is in there, Al Thebe is in there. This is a really fast pace, actually, and a really fast start. And it's what's required, because that Category 2 race was over 3 kilometres down the road. Category 2 are really pushing on today and have a really strong distance and a strong gap early on between them and this Category 1 race. But look at the stretch on this field. We are on this first climb at 1.6% gradient for these riders, but it is really stretching out this Category 1 race already, because the pace is seriously hot as Al Thebe kicks at 8 watts per kilo. Railing has just gone over the top. Graves is there, X100 is there, Ferry, Van Elst. These are big numbers coming out the front of this race pack today.
They are indeed, and you can just see the pressure, the pace on here. We've seen that group behind, long lines. We've seen riders distanced. This is quick, and this is going to be telling as these riders continue in and through. Very, very interesting to see just how fast they're going. And look at that. You can see that pace set there by Hamdan is still holding the lead with Al Thebes' time through there, nearly 2 seconds down. And
Yeah.
that's quite telling. So that says to me that we have got a great little race on here. In my limited racing experience, or not so limited race experience, of getting a kicking from lots of people, you can see that what you need to do is make sure that you don't blow too hard too soon. Really easy to be too enthusiastic and go too hard too early and then pay later. And that is actually exacerbated by this course.
Well, what's really interesting, isn't it? The tactics from that Category 2 race field this week has been to push on really hard as a large group. As is
Yep.
evident through that segment 1 time, that Category 2 pack have taken it upon themselves to push hard and push hard early as a pack to establish a really big distance. Like we said, over 3 kilometres they established in 5 minutes distance between them and this Category 1 field. Now, that's very different to the tactics we saw last week, where some of the Category 2 riders had deliberately had an easier start and they jumped in with the Category 1 pack. Then, when the Category 1 pack took the front of the Category 2 field, it was well, for want of a better term, a bit of a mess, wasn't it? And it was anybody's game as to who could hang on and who from that Category 2 field was going to go through. And we saw Spratt kick on and Spratt kick hard on that climb last week and managed to stay away from the rest of that Category 2 field. Now, I'm thinking that those riders this week have had a change of heart and that a large number of them saw what happened last week and have gone for a very different tactic today.
Well, that would be some great cooperation. That's all I'm going to say because riders, it's the usual thing, isn't it? You get more cooperation between your teammates, but is the whole pack, is it just unified thinking? Is everybody just basically comes to the same conclusion? Or is there a little bit of conversation going on there and they're having a little bit of a chat, making sure that they work hard? Now, in with Mr. X100 here on the left of your screen, chasing the Category 2 riders. The distance between them at the moment, as Emma was saying there, this work being done by Category 2, it is paying off, and this is going to leave the catch till quite late. Big kilometre differences out on the course at the moment. And remember, these riders at the moment are on very similar parts of the terrain, very similar speeds being put down by these packs as well.
Yeah, they are both large packs on the road today. Over 30 riders in each category, and that there's strength in numbers. And when there's strength in numbers and the terrain is fairly rolling and fairly steady, like it is for pretty much the first 36 kilometres of this 45k race today, the pace that a pack can hold is so much higher than a breakaway.
It is. And it's great to see, isn't it, that the way these groups are working. I think, as you said earlier on in the show, they're settling into how to ride the race. They're settling into the tactics required to ride the race. And they're also looking, of course, to then combine that with what they're doing training wise, racing wise, what's going on in life in general as well, which goes on around the outsides. And that is pretty key. But the racing is very interesting at the moment. The packs are together now. Categories 3 and 4, they're a long way down the road. They're into double digits, 13.5k and 15.5k. There's basically almost exactly 2 kilometers between categories 3 and 4. But between 2 and 3, you are looking at 4.5 kilometers nearly between them. That's a big distance. That takes a long time to cover that kind of distance. Never mind close down that distance.
Well, we've got a long time today because we've got 45 kilometres to travel, So some of these riders are now a third into this race, but others are a long way behind that. And 506 metres of climbing today over those 4 climbs. 3 not particularly large climbs, average gradients of sub 2%, but they finished today on top of that category 3 climb, and it's a 6.2 kilometre climb. And we have seen people lose minutes on that final climb on this racecourse previously.
Indeed, and that's going to be very telling as we come in now. Just taking a little bit of a look at the riders and where they are at relative to each other. You can just see our category 1 riders just coming flying through segment number 2, and this means that the fastest time for segment 2 is likely to get eclipsed here by Rakad Al Thib. Indeed, it does. So it's Al Thib, Bush Muller, Relic in there, then Mr. X100, and you can see basically massive big, long Category 1 run before you get anywhere near the Category 2 riders. That says to me that they've started to get this all wound up and they are starting to push and they are starting to get those gaps back. The fastest time from a Category 2 rider that I can see, I think, is going to be Carl Tyselius at what was 2 seconds down. But that is subject to confirmation at the moment. So that says a lot about the pace and the speed of Category 1. They started to pull this back. Ferry SS, Mr. X100, slight gap here on this downhill, just carrying that momentum over the top of the climb and into the descent.
Yeah, now that would be a nice little group to go away, wouldn't it? Mr. X100, Mitch Ferry, and SS. They have Pablo Popovic behind them and Il Pino, who has come up from that Category 2 race, holding his own in this group at the moment in Category 1, which is fabulous to say. Bjarhed is in there, Van Elst is in there, Nair is in there. You know, this is a strong group. And actually, do you know what? Il Pino is the rider pulling that pack back to that lead group of 3 as they snowball through and come over the top as that long snake of riders starts to pull together and to bunch up.
Well, let's see how much bunching it does. We are at 7.76K, and that means that these riders are continuing to push their way in towards the start of our next climb. Next climb, where does that start, Emma?
The next climb it comes at 9.8k. At the moment, these riders have got quite a long but gentle downhill run to that point. So another 1.8 kilometers on this downhill. But as you can see, it's very tiny gradients. They are at 0.5% of a downhill at the moment. So enough to pick up the pace and enough to hold this pace high. This group are rolling at about just over 40 kph at the moment. So a high pace, but they will soon move on to that second climb of the day.
So the riders away. You can see our Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screens, our Category 4 on the right, and look at that, 8.5k and 17.5k covered as Bernard just clear on the front of Category 4, the leader on the race overall at the moment. But Category 1 have their work cut out. But look at that race time, 33 minutes nearly of racing for Bernard underneath his wheels. 12, nearly 13 minutes for the riders in Category 1. And Francis Il Pino here, well, this is what we love to see. Do you know what, guys? I'm here. I'm not scared of your reputations. I get to set off with you and get a lift from the fastest train in the world. I'm going to have a go. Let's see what we can do. Let's make some racing.
Definitely.
You gotta love it.
Justin and SS come up on his shoulder. Knudsen's there, Safrazad's there, Stefan Van Elst is there. You know, they're coming up onto Il Pino's shoulder. But you know what, Matt is continuing to stretch and expand the group, and then the group come back together again. But it will start to affect people's legs. And how much damage can you do to people's legs before they hit that final climb? Because that is a big, steep, long climb, that final climb of today. But it doesn't come till 36.8 kilometers into this race. And could be a lot of tired legs before we reach that point.
I'm sure there'll be a great deal of tired legs before they reach that point if this racing continues to be aggressive or with a concerted chase down. However, when we start to see numbers like 2-3 watts per kilo all through Category 1, we know they're basically just recovering. They're not pushing on. But I think the size of this group at the moment, and because of the not so brutal nature of the course here today versus Australia, where we were last week, we're going to see a difference there.
And taking a look on the right-hand side of your screen, that attack by Mark Dadson earlier on in that Category 3 race has stuck. And Dadson has got 16 seconds clear of the chasing pack as he started to work his way through the back of that Category 4 field. And we can really start to see that push on and that stretch and the attack start to stick.
What he needs now is those riders, as he catches them, to start to work with him a little bit, not just sit on the back, but to give him a little bit of rest on the way through. And we could see him really start to stretch out on the front here. So that's going to be really interesting. Just caught up on to Renata Sartoria Ramos there. Ramos just trying to hold his wheel. Category 1 also now starting to catch other riders as well. So this is going to be really interesting as we come through segment 3. Fastest riders through. Well, no surprises to see Category 1 riders right up there with Al Thebe leading them through.
Yeah, and I'm interested in taking a little look back on Dudson because I'm trying to work out where his best finish is. You know, he's regularly in the top five, but at the moment I've got him with a fifth, two fourths, third. I'm not sure he's actually taken the win, Matt, and this is an absolute commitment to taking that win today.
It is indeed, but very interestingly, on this segment, Mark Dadson's time was 9 seconds, 9 seconds down on the category one pace through there. So 9 seconds on segment number three, which is a 1K segment. So he's losing 9 seconds per kilometre. At home, your homework for today is to work out at a 9 seconds per kilometre catch. Can they catch up with Mark Dadson? If only it were that simple.
It is, and unfortunately, it isn't that simple. But you know, Dadson absolutely committed to that win in that Category 4 race, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if he actually makes that. Because I've just pulled up the next segment down the road. I've pulled up segment number 4, which Category 4 have already been through, and I'll tell you, Dadson has taken 14 seconds on the rest of that Category 4 pack through segment number 4, which is a 3 kilometre segment. So Dadson absolutely nailing his colours to the mast in relation to that win today.
Indeed, and looking really, really interesting as he's pushed on. We can just see Maglio in category number 2 here is continuing to push as well. So Maglio at the moment, look at this. He's got a gap. He's got 9 seconds. He's continuing to push. Can he stay clear? Aramethri is aware of that danger. I've just seen some big numbers come off Aramethri, but he's looking for some support, I think, in that group behind as well. He can't do all the chasing himself, but he needs some assistance. And that's what's starting to come here. But Aaron Mesri knows he cannot let Maglio go. Maglio is a class act and definitely not a sort of rider that you want to leave down the road.
No, you don't indeed. As Baltasar and Cagliglia and Hamden come through there, Mr. G is there as well. Rhino is there. Smithson is there. They are all helping out, but there are riders in that pack who are very capable of helping Aramethri close that gap, but they're not putting their noses in the wind at the moment. They're saving some energy and they're sitting in that pack and not working.
Well, we're on to the second climb here for our riders in category 1. You can just see this move by Zanaska has stretched it out. See Phil Graves having to reply. It's some massive watts per kilo here to come across this group. He's being marked here, I think, by Knudsen and potentially by SS there as well. So it looks like Graves, Knudsen, and SS are making that junction. But behind the pack are coming. Will they get across quick enough to save a little bit of energy? Because we're going up over the top of the climb here, and the gradient will start to decrease when we go over the very top of the summit.
Yeah, nice to see Zanaska actually playing and pushing on the front there. A different rider than we would normally see take the attack. Michael Knudsen normally is the guy putting the effort in, but Fawcett is there as well this week. Fawcett had a really good ride last week until he had what we think was a technical problem and his power dropped. But it's great to see Fawcett there as well. Knudsen, Harburg, Costa, Il Pino. These riders are all there and they are all now coming back together again as they go under that blue arch, signifying the start of segment 4 for them.
Indeed, this will be really interesting to see how they get on here today with segment number 4. It's that snapshot, that little bit of a window on the world as we go through. Look at this. You can see that chasing group behind Maglio are not letting him go too far down the road here because Hamden, next one doing the work, Mesri in there, Cadenas in there, Reno in there. They are all working hard. And I think after seeing people solo clear for some wins before, they're all a little bit more wary of letting anyone go down the road.
Yeah, and this group are now all going to come back together again as Maglio has got 1 second and Hamden has done some amazing work to pull this back together again on this downhill section. And it's really lifted the pace, and that working on that downhill has really worked for this group as they catch Maglio and they go through, they go over, and this whole pack is now coming back together again. And you know what? They've got a couple of category 3 riders in sight and they are going to go straight past them as though they were standing still.
They are, and look at this. This is some serious pace on here. I mean, we're seeing some very, very quick riders coming in and through. So at the end of segment 4, the fastest time to date is going to be a 4:07. A 4:07. Segment number 4 is 3 kilometers long. It's a long, long segment. So be interesting to see what they do. Look at this. Rakat Al Thib again working well on the front here, and got to be, as we say, put in a lot of work. Question will be, what result can he get out here? Interesting to see that Marcus Cavallo has jumped in with this group, a second category rider, staying in with this pack and not being dropped on the way through. So although being distanced by the leading group on category 2, at the moment really pulling it out here and jumping in with this group on a downhill. This will bring him some time back and get him a little bit closer to the leaders, but he's got to be smart and ride really cool, sit in the draft and take the most of that effect.
Yeah, and whilst there's still some distance between this Category 1 pack and the Category 2 pack, it is now just, and I say just, sub 3K. These both packs are really, really motoring on these flatter sections of this course today. The Category 1 pack are going to start to see the back of Category 4 and Category 3 very shortly.
So category 2 and 3 are starting to come together again, and we're just seeing Hamden continuing to push on in 2. In category 1, it's Al Thib who is pushing at the moment. They're at 14.4k, so still another k of this segment to go, but it is very quick on the front of category 1 today, and I think the next rider in their sights is probably going to be our third and second category riders. They're going to be caught pretty quickly as well as some of those category 4s. So are we going to see category 1 get up there now? Phil Graves down the road. 12 watts per kilo I saw on that kick, on that massive stamp on the pedals. And you can really push up that spike that goes up there. But we know he's capable of sustaining it. And look at this, instantly marked down by SS.
Yeah, and Knudsen, I've just seen a 9.8 watts per kilo from Knudsen because he wants to have some of that as well. So Naska's sitting at 3, at 6, and 8 is Al Thib. So these riders are all starting to think, who's going to go clear, who's going to form a front pack, and can anybody actually start to break this group?
Well, we saw Phil Grace get marked down there. I wonder if the UAE clan team are man-marking people out here and allocating a rider to watch everybody. You know, and like last week, it could have been Popovic watching Vink. It could have been SS watching Graves. Is it one-on-one at the moment in that team that they're very carefully watching each other? Rakat Al Thib here is going to pull the bunch back across to them here. He's gone clear of the group by only a few centimeters. It means that everybody was benefiting from that draft as we come through the end of segment 4. Well, look at that. That is a big difference because you can see 4:06 the time through there, and a very quick time by Phil Graves and what is a long segment, 3k with plenty of hills in there.
Yeah, so Graves, SS Al Thib, X100, Harburg being your top 5 through that section. But we've got different riders in there as well. Vujasin is in there, Kirchmer is in there, Torrento is in there, Bjarhead, Popovic, Noren, Paniza. You know, there is very little, 1 second separating the top 12 riders through that segment.
And is it indicative of the work being done by the UAE clan team to close the gaps down, that there were 3 UAE clan team riders in our screens there, and there was no other team with that kind of level of riders in there. Nowhere near as many riders in there. If you're looking for teams, I mean, the probably the nearest is the Yorkshire Pudding Express with 2 riders in the top 15, or maybe the Belgian Waffles, 2 riders inside the top 13. But nobody really with that same volume of riders in the front of the category 1 pack. So category 1 pack, left hand side of your screen. Category 2, right hand side of your screen. Distance between them at the moment, well, it's just over 2 kilometers still, so that gap continues onwards.
Yeah, it does indeed, as we've got a large pack at the front of our category 1 race and a large pack at the front of our category 2 race as well. You know, look at the size of these packs and the pace that they're moving at. You know, so over 40 kph coming out currently of our category 2 race, and close to that coming out of our category 1, as we see these riders continue to work and continue to push on this road and on this course. These rolling early lands with the slight uphills and the long downhill sections is really allowing this pace to remain really high. So category 2 now coming up to 20 kilometers into this 45-kilometer race. Category 1 sitting at around 17.25k, and then we can start to see where our other categories are. 25k covered for the front of the road for our category 4 race, and category 3 leader coming up to 24. So 1k now, looking as though it's separating our category 3 and category 4 race on the road. And it's those category 4 riders that are our lead pack on the road in this race at the moment.
And 3 of those categories, 1, 2, and 4, all have big groups. Category number 3 currently is the one with that solo leader in Simeo. The question will be, can Simeo stay clear? They're only a few seconds behind him. You can just see the pack in the distance. But Simeo, another rider who's always up there on the way through. So let's see how these riders continue to push. And can they make that gap enough to stay clear? We've seen attacks off all the groups, and now it's Simeo who's doing the same in that category 3, trying to close down category 4. Now, next section here, we're on to our next little climbing section. Here we are at 18k. This is a little bump in the road rather than a major climb for our riders. However, it is enough to cause a little bit of a push on here, just as the riders just continue to squeeze here. Now, no surprises, another attack. Phil Graves once again. It's just seen another 12 watts per kilo coming out Phil Graves as he puts in another dig on the bike. This is the man who spent his Christmas day opening the presents with the kids in the morning and then riding in the afternoon. Out on a training camp, we've seen him out in action. He really is putting in the case, putting in the hard work here. And the rider who's a keen triathlete and top-level triathlete at the moment going clear. But look who's marking him down. Man on man marking from the UAE clan team. Mark my words.
Yeah, SS is attacking and pulling back Phil Graves. Knudsen goes to Mr. X100 as well, and Zanaska is putting some power in there. As this group, look at that stretch. I love that right-hand screen graphic. So at the top of your screen on the right-hand side, you can see that road with the yellow blobs on it. Now, what this graphic really tells you is how pushing the pace is and how close the riders are. And look at the stretch on that pack, and look at that chase coming from behind. So Graves pushes on at 6.2 watts per kilo. SS is marking him. Popovic is now there, and Zanaska. But you know what? Graves and SS have got a couple of seconds on this pack as Graves continues to dig. He is really pushing hard, and he really wants this gap to stay away now.
Well, it's not going to be easy to stay clear, but I tell you something, he's holding it. He knows he can hold that pace. Look at that pace. He's sitting around about that 5 watts per kilo. He's making everybody work behind him. And then you've got SS who's just about getting onto his wheel and sitting on it. The gap back is starting to close down a little bit here as we go over the top of the climb on to the descent. But what it will have done is that's going to have done some damage behind, because there will be riders who are right into the limit. When we talk about an FTP limit, a functional threshold performance level, a level where you can sustain that pace. And when you go over that, you start to hit towards that point where you start getting lactic acid, where you can't maintain that pace, where you really start to go on the limit. And that varies from rider to rider and how often they can go in. Graves was sitting on it, I think, comfortably. The rest of the group, though, right back up there.
Yeah, the rest of the group have got pulled back by Alfie, but you know what? The second they were about to catch, Graves went again. And Graves has dug in, and he's gone again, and he's pushed hard. He really wants this break, 5.6, 5.7 watts per kilo. Alfie is still chasing at 7. Now, the question is, will Graves stay clear and be able to time trial away from the front of this group, or is Alfie going to burn all his matches by bringing this group back together?
Well, certainly the aggressive rider price at the moment in Category 1, if we were to give one, which we don't, it is Phil Graves at the moment who would have that. A great, lovely little attack there as they came back towards him. Al Thebe again now having to work to pull the gap back. Knudsen quickly goes over the top here. He's going to take the lead and go into the front here. And is Knudsen now going to counter-attack hard enough? Or is this just about making sure he marks it out and maybe giving himself a little bit of sliding room? But those numbers are pretty high at the moment. They're well over the 400 watts, nearly 500, and that is definitely going to be making those legs
Oh!
sting behind.
And Graves is trying to go with him because Al Thebe is continuing to push, but Graves has kicked hard and now he's sat up. And this gradient has worked against Knudsen because they've come over a brow of a small hill and dropped onto the descent, and the pace of the group has picked up high. So Knudsen is back in that group with Bushmuller, Noren, Paniza, Biarhead. They are all in this group. SS, Savrasad, Ferry, Popovic. You know, it is a constant attack after attack after attack at the moment.
And the question has got to be, I mean, we've seen how to attack. Graves attacks 12 watts per kilo, kicks clear, stays clear, then holds at 5. Al Thebe is lifting to 6 or 7. That is not enough to break clear, and it's pulling the group back. Now, is that because Al Thebe is choosing not to put down 12 watts per kilo, but to pull the group back deliberately, wanting the group to stay together to give him a bit more support until he hits the climb? Or is it because he doesn't have the 12 watts per kilo afterwards?
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because I think actually he's really, really strong, and you can see different riders have different strengths. And Alfie definitely has that ability to pull that group together, but other riders here have the ability to really kick hard and to put a gap in.
So just watching these riders continuing to push their way off the front and try and open those gaps. The question will be who can take it away and go clear. So let's see who is going to be able to do that. Our riders are continuing to push onwards here, trying to get that gap opened up, trying to push onwards. Look at the group behind right-hand side of your screen. Category 2, they're all over the place here. You can see they really have got a real aggressive race on the go here. Groups are fracturing, and again, we're seeing that. The question will be, can anybody break clear, stay clear? You are looking at these gaps opening, and again, it's doing damage for that final climb because you've got to be patient. It's not just the rider who breaks away and gets clear on the initial section. It's also about doing the damage so that you can then put in a move later on, or even your teammate putting in a move later on. And then remember, the UAE Falcons have got that down to a T because we've got Rumethri, who we know is actually superb on the climb. So just watching Rakat Al Thebe go through. Al Thebe just pushing on here. He's going to be joined by Knudsen. Knudsen's going to go straight over the top here, but this is the segment 5 leaderboard. And Hamden, interestingly, going through there for the UAE Falcons. So the Falcons team in Category 2 having the top of speed through there, the fastest time, 2.72 seconds quicker than Al Thebe, our Category 1 rider. Now, it's very telling because Hamden clearly doing a lot of work. And then Al Thebe, Knudsen, Kirschmeyer, Van Elst, Paradians, followed by Harburg, Nair, Safrazad, then Noren, Bjarhed, and Vujassin. And very interesting to see that both Vujassin along with Van Elster sitting up near the front of the pace through there, so working well through that section, but not huge time gaps if you exclude Al Thebe along with Hamden. So Knudsen, who went on the push, went on a little bit of an attack over the top. He's got Safrazad on his wheel here, and then it's a gap back to the bunch. Popovic and co are behind. So Saeed Safrazad just taking the lead. Knudsen has got some support here. Safrazad is a good rider to go with because if Safrazad's at the road, I don't think the UAE team will chase down Safrazad. They'll be fairly confident of his climbing abilities. Look at this. Popovic has decided he's going to get across and join this group, make this front group and see if they can go clear here. as the rest of the bunch close down, the come onto the back wheels here, and you can see this group. It keeps splitting, it comes together, it splits and comes together, and riders at the back could be in trouble. But Graves now, that instant compression has seen Graves put another attack onto the front. He's got Knudsen this time. So will this be the pair that stick? This is a very dangerous move, because as they come on to category 2, they've just caught a Bello Mancini. They've got Taiselis up the road in front of them, and with Balthazar, the leaders in category number 2. Graves are going through with Knudsen, and the responses come. No surprises that we're seeing Althebe in that chasing group, along with Zanaska. They saw the group go, and they thought, we can't let Graves and Knudsen go down that road now. Category 2 riders, leaders all together. Category 1 leaders all together. They are separated now by about 1.75 K at the moment, so nearly 2K between them. That difference could literally be just the terrain between, because remember, the distance between the riders will be further as they go on a downhill section, because it'll be faster, so they'll be traveling more distance for the time. When it is the uphill sections, then that physical distance between the riders diminishes, but the time gap will remain the same. That's the same time gap. So we'll see what that does. It's still going around that 2-kilometer difference on the road between 1 and 2, and categories 3 and 4 are even further up the road, of course, and that means that they, with that head start, they should be making their way in. We are at 25 kilometers covered of our 45 kilometers today in category number 1. We are at 31K in the racing for the riders behind, and you can just see those riders pushing here. So category 4, 30K, 25K for category number 1. 5K basically separating these riders as they're out on the road.
They are indeed, and there's 5K separating these riders, and there's a couple of category 2 riders now packed in the back of this category 1 pack as we look at this group that are moving really comfortably along this road. You know, they have a bit more of a run in now, so around a K and a half till they come to climb number 3 on this course. It's 3.35K in length, but it's only got an average gradient of 1.1%, so it's not really going to do a lot of damage to this pack. As we just take a look at the map and take a look at where these riders are on this course today. So the latter half of this course is what's in play at the moment, and you can see that category 1 pack rolling towards that 27.1 kilometer marker of the 3rd climb of the day. Then they have a small rolling section before at 38K they go into that category 3 climb, that hilltop finish today.
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because when you think that the leaders are at 30K, that is our category 4. They're about to hit that downhill section heading for the final climb. Our category 1 riders, they're on the way to the penultimate climb. So still plenty of terrain between these riders out on the course. And category 1, I was going to say it's calmed down a little bit.
Well, you
But
say
that's
that,
not
Matt,
true.
but Zanaska has got 6 seconds at the moment off the front of that group. Look at that. That graphic at the top again is giving us what's happening in that race play. There is one yellow dot down the road, and that is Zanaska. 6.6 watts per kilo. He's got his pacing right at the moment, you know, Matt, because Popovic and Ferry and now Thebe might be at the front of the chasing group, but they are 6 to 7 seconds behind Lucas Zanaska.
And Zanaska can climb, and we are hitting the base of that climb in about 200 meters. He's going to hit the climb proper, but it drags up into this climb as well. So we're going to see that gradient increase, and no surprises if you put your money on it being Rakat El Thebe, who's doing the work behind to chase. And I think if Althea wants to win, he's got to do less work during the race. But you never know. He might be capable of both. Be
Well,
impressive.
You know, he does do, and we have seen him over the last 2 or 3 weeks doing an awful lot of work during the race and actually bringing the race groups back and putting his nose out in the wind. But often putting your nose out in the wind is not what wins you the race, as we've often said, Matt, isn't it? You know, the only time you want to be on the front of the pack is when you cross the finish line.
It's certainly the only time that counts, and it's the one that matters on the results. If you want to be up there, whether it's a world championship, where you are wanting your name as world champion, or whether it's racing on this, it is all about getting that race win.
It is. And if you want to join us on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, you are looking at the action and you're thinking, how do I have a part of that? What do I do to join? Head over to the MyWhoosh website. On the MyWhoosh website, you can find out all you need to about the Sunday Race Club. You can download the app. I would suggest a couple of rides on the platform before you enter the race. But there is indeed a section of the website where that's called events. Head to the events page. You can find out the details of the Sunday Race Club. You can find out how to enter, and you can take a look at the documents you need to look at to understand exactly what it's all about and what you need to do. There is a technical guide there, there is a rule set guide there, and there is a frequently asked questions section of the website as well. So head on over there, take a look, and join us on the Sunday Race Club in the future.
Indeed, it'd be great to see you out. Then you can catch Emma and myself out and riding around on occasion when we are able to get a gap in between our copious amounts of research and still being in the studio as well. And it's plenty of work behind the scenes as well as putting words to the action. And don't forget, of course, we are going to be bringing you all of the action as much as possible. I will be missing for some, and that is because I'm on international duty with the UCI. That's the governing body of all cycle sport worldwide, including the World Championship. It's going to be here as much as possible. Of course, holding the fort whilst I get to jet set into a very cold, muddy field, which doesn't have our nice warm studio, and the coffee is definitely nowhere near as good.
It doesn't indeed. But if you want to get in contact with us and you want to give us any information about your team, your race tactics, what it is you are doing, or just say hi, you can find us on numerous social media platforms. You can find me at Biking Emma on Facebook and on Instagram.
You can find me at Matt Fixer Payne, and of course, you can find full speed events on both as well. And don't forget, whilst you're on there, make sure you click on to the MyWhoosh Race Club so you could get on there the MyWhoosh social media feeds, and they're really easy. They're at MyWhoosh. So if you are Lucas Nasca Rakadal Thiep or Mark Dadson that we just saw soloing away off the front, let us know. Tell us what you're up to. Tell us what you take yourself. We promise if you tell us not to give the game away, we won't. And you can never know. You could even feed us some false information on the way through.
Yeah, so Zanaska is off the front here, but look at that long line of Category 1 riders. That pack has absolutely split, and you know what? I think it is going to split. We had just shy of 20 riders in this Category 1 pack at the front. Zanaska has gone off down the road. Zanaska's got about 100 metres as they are on this climb now, but wow, look at the stretch of that group.
It is, and it's climb number 3. Remember, this is the penultimate climb. We've got a relatively short section then from the top of this summit to the start of the final climb. And Zanaska is doing some serious damage behind. Graves is aware of this. He's trying to get across and try and break this group up. And behind Graves, they are fracturing, they're reforming, but I think Graves is going to make contact because he's coming across at some serious pace and it really is doing some damage. I think Zanaska's days solo are numbered, but the big question will be how many of this group are going to make it to Zanaska? We're looking back from Zanaska. You can see they're coming behind him. He's reached the top of the climb. He's going over the top, and this is where that bunch has the advantage with the aerodynamics, but they've halved the distance in probably about 10 minutes of racing to the riders in front. It's down to a minute now to the riders in that pack, in the leading pack of Category 2 riders. And a lot of that's because of the pace put on by Zanaska, but he's got to make sure he's not distanced now. But that is a reduced group, isn't it?
I'm laughing because Zanaska went right to the back of that group and then kicked and rode back into the front of the group. So didn't want to get distance off the back and was with the pace of the chasing group at risk of getting caught and no risk of going out the back, but he put in a really big dig to go and to stay in that pack. It's back. There are about 20 riders in this group. The Category 2 race field is about a minute down the road, and it's a big bunch as well, Matt. So when these two groups come together, it is going to be about 30 riders.
It's going to be carnage. That's what it's going to be. Never mind 30 riders. It's going to be carnage. Rakad Al Thebe now at 7 watts per kilo again. And this is what we see from Rakad. He's pushing at 6 to 7, and he's looking to see if that will break this group out. That it's not going to happen with that difference in power. The power differential is not enough when you're kicking at that pace. You've got to go into double digits generally to get clear of a Category 1 race field. That's great for me because I can do that. Unfortunately, it's all the rest of it that doesn't work because I can't then stay out the front and immediately blow up and go back through that race field. Raka can hold that power, but it's not enough to break it up. It will be really interesting to know who are we missing? Who's missed this group? Oh, here we go. Mitch Ferry and Jasper Paradians are riders who have been damaged and have been separated on that climb. And you can see if Ferry is out of the back of that group, along with Paradians, they are not going to be playing a part in the finale because they're not going to catch that back now.
No, they're not with 9 seconds to go. And I'll tell you who else is having a cracking ride today, Matt, because I've just pulled up segment 6 on my screen, and Dadson is having a storming ride, 16 seconds over that segment number 6. Segment number 6 is 5K, but he's put 16 seconds into the rest of that Category 3 field through that segment.
And Dadson has been showing that he's got pace, he's got form, he's capable of going clear and putting a really, really tough ride in. He's doing it time and time again, but well, I'm not sure it'll be enough to hold off the riders behind because they are coming at some speed. Rakad Al Thebe here, again, sat on the front. The rest of the group, though, are sat behind. And this is the difficulty. Now, if Rakad hasn't got that double-digit kick, that 10 watts per kilo plus kick, this is about all he can do, isn't it? Sit at a pace and make it hard for everybody all the time.
Yeah, and that is technically what he's been doing week in, week out recently. He doesn't seem to have the kick that we've seen off Knudsen and Popovic and Safrazad, etc. But he continues to push and is able to hold a constant pace for a serious amount of time. So his 5-minute power must be very good. Taking a look now through segment 6, Al Thebe does indeed have the fastest time through there at 6:50, quickly followed by Phil Graves. 1 second back, then the rest of that Category 1 pack come through with Neer, Noren van Elsvu, Justin Bushmuller, Popovic, Knudsen, Safrazad, Biarhead, and Paniza rounding out that top 12.
They are indeed. And I'm just having a little wonder whether the riders who we're not necessarily seeing as the fastest riders are going to be up there. I mean, it's X100 at the moment, just up on the front, and we know he goes better as we go in towards the back end of the course. We know he can get his timing absolutely spot on. He's ridden this this platform for so long now. He knows it inside out, and he knows where to push. And I'm sure he's probably looking forward to going back to Arabia up onto the Jebel Hafid mountain finish. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping that comes in time for the UAE Tour. And of course, the UAE Tour is not all that far away, and some great videos on the YouTube channel with some insights from our riders. So make sure that if you're watching the racing, you also have a little look across the other videos that are there, because there's some amazing insights, because of course MyWhoosh are part of that team as well.
Yeah, so Safrazad, SS, Van Elst, Fawcett, Bushmuller pulling this group along the road now. And you know what? They are going to start catching the back of the field. They've got a large group of riders ahead of them, all within a minute, including that Category 2 lead pack.
So here we go. We're coming in to the finale. We're over 33, nearly 34 kilometers covered for the Category 1 leaders. Our Category 2, 3, and 4 leaders are still clear. But remember, of course, that distance is deceptive because of that final climb here on the Sunday Race Club. Remember, this is a very, very busy month, and it looks like Hamden just rolling round. I think he's got blown out of that leading group of Category 2 riders that are on the right-hand side of your screen. They are ahead, but they're not ahead by much. What's that, 400 meters maybe, Emma?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. It is indeed. It's not a lot on that road. and it is very quickly coming down. It's less than a minute, and that's a very, as we said earlier, it's a very large pack of Category 2 riders that this Category 1 group are going to go into the back of. And let's take a little look. It's still quite some distance, 2.5k to the back of that Category 3 field. But that Category 3 field are only 200 metres away from the very front of the race, that Category 4 field. So we are going to see Category 1 and Category 2 come together. We are going to see Category 3 and Category 4 come together. But there's still some distance between what will be those two packs on the road.
It's going to be very interesting as that progresses. And you can just see the riders actually coming down past the pens in the opposite direction from which they went out. So essentially you go out the pens, you go out and do a loop, you come back in, and then you head for the climb.
You do indeed. And heading for this climb is going to be, I think, where this action takes place today in this race, because that is what is going to give us our winner today. 6.2 kilometers, 5.2% average gradient. And I say average gradient because there are some very steep sections on this climb. There are also some flats and some downhill sections as well. So it is a technical climb, and riders who have recce'd it and know where those elements are will really pay dividends.
It will indeed. I think you're dead right there, Evan. Knowing how to ride each section of the climb to its maximum speed, minimum effort is going to be key. Going to be really, really key, because getting that right is going to be so critical as these riders in Category 1 continue to push that gap now down to 30 seconds. And that is a real close time gap. So as Emma says, it won't be long before Category 2 see Category 1 coming up behind them. They're going to do that before they reach the base of the climb. I suspect it's going to be very close, but that long climbing section at the end of this race is going to be critical for all of our category riders, and that is where getting that pacing is key. Steep, flat or level, and then steep again, then another level, steep again, another drop. You've got to be able to change your cadence, and having the souplesse to change that cadence, or the flexibility, if you like. Souplesse is a mixture of style, flexibility, and rhythm. And those are probably the three things I'd say that would sum up souplesse. Being able to do all those things whilst you're riding the bike, that is what gives you the advantage on there, to be able to go from 70 revs per minute to 140 revs per minute, and then back to 70 without burning excess energy.
Yeah, and as this Category 1 group come onto this wooden bridge, the Category 2 riders are exiting it on the other side. It is literally just this bridge that is now separating our Category 1 and Category 2 race, as Phil Graves pushes on there at the front. We've got Noren up there. We've got Safrazad up there. These riders are just pushing on a little bit again, just stretching this group out and just trying to make that catch.
They are indeed, and it is Hamden who's going to be caught first here. Hamden was setting fastest times through the segments in the Category 2 race, but I think doing a lot of work for his teammates Tanaji, Mathri, and Rinosh on the way through, as another set of attacks start to go. They're taking advantage, aren't they? They know they're coming up to another group. If you're coming in towards another group, that's when you want to be on the front. Make the most of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. They are completely and utterly taking advantage of the fact that there are multiple starts in this race, and they're about to come up onto the back of a group. And when you come up onto the back of the group, things get confusing. If you are pushing hard, you've got people in oxygen debt, and they are not thinking as clearly as if they are taking a deeper breath and their heart rates are lower. So let's make the most of it, as Graves and SS have pushed on hard, and that is the Category 2 pack. You can see it now. Graves has got them in his sights.
And interestingly, Hamden, I think he maybe had a problem because he dropped back out of the pack. He was distanced by the leaders. He waited. Smart riding. He waited for Category 1 to come. He's jumped back in. Hamden's going to get a free lift here, effectively, up to Category 2 leaders. The Category 2 riders are reacting here. They know equally Category 1 are coming. And look at this. You can see that there is a kick coming because they want to join that train as well. This is going to be a big group. Which of our Category 2 riders have got the pace and the power to stay with Category 1? Not going to be long to find out.
Yeah, putting that dig in to catch that Category 1 train that's coming is absolutely key. So the Category 2 riders don't miss that train out the station. Look at that merge of colour there. We've got yellow Category 1, green Category 2 as those two groups come together, and this race field gets really interesting to see who can come through that melee as they catch a group of Category 3 riders ahead of them to see who forms this lead group here.
Well, really interesting. Cartai Celis, Christian Maglio here, Ryan Giuliano in the mix, Felipe Tortoretto, James Krasnich, Angarita, Arametri. It's a who's who of Category 2 mixed in with Category 1 leaders here. And Hamden, what a ride by him. Clearly must have been an issue for him, a technical issue being distanced to then jumping back in again. Let's hope he doesn't have another issue. I've just seen his numbers drop and then yo-yo up. I think he's got problems. So let's take a look through the field up in front. You can just see Cartai Celis, one of those riders who jumped in with this group. Now, what they've got to hope is that Category 1 is a little bit calmer in the running, because if Category 1 jumps up and down, chasing breaks, that is where, as a Category 2 rider, you're going to struggle. When that pace sits consistently at 6 watts per kilo, or there's a kick at 12, and you are on your limit, that's when you're going to pay the price.
Oh, absolutely. And if this forms a tight blob on the road, then those Category 2 riders can sit in that group, probably around 3.5 watts per kilo, and take that draft and take that ride. Even if the pace is around 5, 4.5, 5 on the front, they'd be able to do that. But look, they are not letting them do that. Phil Graves is on the front. Safrazad is there. Alfib is pushing on. Those yellow jerseys are starting to come to the fore of that group now because they do not want to let that pace off.
They definitely don't, and they are closing down on riders in Category 4 as well. Leonard Gurek Cadabona, the next rider in their sights as they're going along, and you can just see it's a long, strung out pack here. Now, one of the dangers here, if you are a rider in Category 1 and you've got Category 2 riders between you and that lead, if that Category 2 rider leaves a gap and you're not aware of it, you've then got to close that gap back down again. We are at 6.5%. We're at 39k, and the pressure is on. Graves it is who's putting the foot to the floorboard. Knudsen's responding. Zanaska and Nair are there. But remember, we are now coming in towards that final climb at 39.3. This is where things get really serious indeed.
They are indeed currently at 3.6%. These gradients are going to go higher. They are going to go steeper. And these Category 1 jerseys are coming to the fore of this race now as Zanaska pushes on. Graves has just dropped a little. Popovic is there. Noren is there. Kirchmer is there. These are strong riders. But Zanaska is the rider we are in with at the moment.
And they're catching the riders in the Category 3 and 4 with rapidity at the moment. They're going to come past our next block of riders. So Cadabona goes through. Looks like Staples getting washed through here. Satori going through. And it's just because of the pace here. But look at this group. It is a fractured and diminished group of Category 1 riders. We're in with Mr. X100. He's sat a little bit behind here. He has got some help if Panizza can give him any assistance to get across, but he cannot afford to let this gap go. So he's got to use his considerable experience on the platform and all of that pace and speed that we know he's got to get back across to the group. There are still plenty of riders in front, but it looks to me Mark Dadson has been caught in that Category 3 race. Dadson, who had that huge gap as they've come on to the climb, has lost some of that distance. He's at 40.87 now, 40.9 kilometers. Restrepo and Simeo and Lopez have pulled him back. They are the leaders on the road. So Category 3 at the moment have overtaken Category 4. Suarez, along with Mendoza and co, all being caught by 4 riders. That's Lopez, Restrepo, Dadson, and Simeo. They are the quartet of riders from Category 3 who've gone past. It's only 30 seconds back to Barisi there as well. So lots of riders in the mix. But look at this, Naska now on the attack in Category 1. It's all kicking off here on the slopes here, the final climb.
It is indeed all kicking off as we've got 5 Category 1 riders pushing on with the 6th really close. And you know what? The rest aren't too far behind. We've got Knudsen taking the lead here, kicking at 9 watts per kilo. He's got 4.5 kilometres to go now till the top of this climb. Zanaska is in 2, Safrazad is in 3. There are slowly starting to be gaps back down this field as we take a longer look back. We've got 3 riders pushing on there. Noren and Popovic are up the road. Kirschmore and SS are here with X100 just behind. These riders are strong, strong climbers, but they are battling each other now and starting to really string out on this road today.
Well, just looking at Michael Knudsen, the leader on the right-hand side, being joined by Safrasad and Zanaska. We're watching SS and Mr. X100. They're a little bit further behind. It's only about 100 meters at the moment, but that is a tough 100 meters because Knudsen's just dropped into a descent, whereas the SS group with Mr. X100 are still on the climb. And that is going to widen this gap out to about 200 meters, but then it will compress as they come onto this climb. Riders at the front of Category 1, Kachin Noak and Martinoli. Now the riders are from Category 3 in the blue. The red jersey of Kamze are going past on the right-hand side there. And look at the speed of these Category 1 riders. They are on the warpath. They want to get right up to the front of the race. And at the moment, Knudsen, Safrazad and Zanaska are the riders who are doing that damage.
They are indeed, but they've still got 12 riders on the road in front of them today. As Zanaska and Knudsen continue to push, Safrazad is there as well. These riders continue to work a little bit further back. Kirchmer is there. X100 is there. SS is there. Noren is there as well. These riders are down this road but continuing to overtake the Category 3 and 4 riders now that started before these riders on this multiple start race today.
So our riders continue to push here. Things are going to continue to accelerate, no doubt, as we go into our finish. Remember, we finish at 45 kilometers. It's a tricky finish at the top of this climb. Most of our riders will know it well. You have a rise, you go through the tunnels, you dip down out of it, and then there's a final rise up. But the push into the tunnel and out the other side is key. Now, very front of the race, Restrepo attacking on the left-hand side of your screen from Simeo and Datsun and Lopez. Eckersley's the rider a little bit further back, but Restrepo has gone for this. Remember, Restrepo is a multiple-time winner. He's a rider who we know can do the business when it comes to the finish. He's at 42.2. He knows that he has limited time left to need to stay at the front. But look at this. Look at the pace of Simeo going up over the top there. Incredible speed.
Yeah, and that was using the momentum, Matt, of that slight downhill section because there are lots of little slight downhill sections in here, and Simeo used that beautifully. So Dadson got caught, the long-time leader of this Category 3 race, now 10 seconds back from Simeo, Restrepo and Lopez, who are the 1, 2, 3 on the road and the 1, 2, 3 in that Category 3 race at the moment.
So Restrepo and Simeo, interestingly, half a second separated them at the finish of the top of the climb last week on that race. What a finish that was. We're going to see another one here today. Who's going to take it? Here come the leaders of Category 1. They're chasing Mendoza here. Mendoza's looking over his shoulder. I'm not surprised he's not going to be looking over his shoulder for long because through they go. What a pace, what a speed. Great ride by Mendoza to hold him off for so long. We're into those final few kilometers. Zanaska putting in so much pace today. Really impressed by his ride here today. He's doing an incredible job of being in the mix as we start to come into these tunnels. They're going to catch Parisi. Parisi is now dispatched. He's going to get past here. Suarez goes backwards as well. The leaders, Simeo and Restrepo, now on the same screen on the left-hand side. If you look down that right-hand side of the left-hand screen, Safrazad and Zanaska now showing behind Restrepo, Simeo, Lopez, Dasson, and Eckersley.
Yeah, as Safrazad, Zanaska and Knudsen continue their Category 1 charge, the leaders on the road, Simeo and Restrepo, are coming out of that tunnel as Zanaska and Safrazad and Knudsen are still in it, but they're not in it for long because
Oh.
that distance is coming down really quickly as Safrazad and Zanaska push on. Knudsen has now been distanced a little bit, 6 seconds back to Knudsen, and X100 is still constantly tapping out his own pace and slowly closing that gap.
Well, that's going to be really interesting. And of course, it's going to be interesting when we look at those team positions as well. Now, our two leaders, Simeon and Restrepo, the only two riders clear of the Category 1 leaders, Safrazad and Zanaska, who are immediately behind. Here they come. The race lead is going to come together in Category 3 and Category 1. Restrepo and Simeo, they see Zanaska kicking through. He's got Saeed Safrazad on his wheels. This is the push, and it looks like Restrepo has managed to get in between them. So Zanaska at the moment continues to kick in here. He's at 43.2, and we're going to see some real differences in the speed that these riders have climbed up this mountain, because Zanaska is coming towards the end of segment number 7. He should set the fastest time here. Safrazad is not far behind him. Semyon and Restrepo, we'll see. They'll come through as the fastest riders in category number 3 and probably in 3rd and 4th place as they hit that part of the line. But you know what? They're going to be a long way down time-wise as we see that push continue from Zanaska on the right. Mr. X100, I think your prediction there, Emma, of him chasing down the rider in front, Knudsen, that is a very, very strong possibility.
So 1.5 kilometers to go now for the front rider in our race today, Luka Zanaska, pushing on hard. 10 seconds back now, we're in with X100. X100 is riding his own climb. He is setting his own pace and he is tapping that along as Zanaska pushes on. Safrazad is there as well. And this is now a battle between these two at the front. Who can ride the final sections of this climb and get the technique right on this climb to take the win today?
Well, Safrazad has the pedigree. He's got the experience. He knows his course inside out. But Zanaska has been riding consistently strongly all the way through. Now, he's got a little bit more distance to make up again. Zanaska now to Safrazad. And has Zanaska done too much too early? He's got to respond. But there is distance. Remember, 45k in total. That is 1.15k left on the underneath the wheels of Zanaska for him to close it down. But it's not all over by any stretch of the imagination. So Safrazad comes in through that segment, end of segment 7. He'll set that fastest time. He goes through a 10 minutes 23 seconds. Zanaska 3 seconds down on that. But if you look behind Mr. X100 and Michael Knudsen, they are together and they come through, nothing separating the two of them. In fact, Mr. X100 actually having the slightly faster time of that climb, but the race leader, right hand side, into his last kilometer here.
Yeah, so Safrazad in 1, Zanaska in 2. 5 seconds separating 1 and 2 at the moment. X100 and Knudsen in 3 and 4. They are around 20 seconds back on 1 and 2. So this looks like it's a race for 1st and 2nd and a race for 3rd and 4th.
And then behind Popovic, Nair and Kirschmeyer are the riders on that climb. The distances are opening up. And in fact, as we come through, we've just seen Restrepo come through. He's 4 minutes and 9 seconds slower up that segment of the climb than our race leader. That's the difference between category 3 leaders, who are right up in the top 10, remember, and our category 1 leader. That is the difference, but it shows you that there is racing for everybody here on MyWhoosh. Now, Saeed Safrazad, right hand side of your screen, 500 meters to go, coming in to the tunnels. Zanaska is not out of this. Knudsen still chasing hard. He's got Popovic and Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team behind him. It's going to be close. Let's watch these riders come through. So Saeed Safrazad comes out of that tunnel. He's at 44.8k. Look at the pace he's putting in.
He drops into that descent, and that descent is absolutely crucial. It's sub 13% as they kick onto the climb, and Safrazad takes the climb, and he takes the win, going through that banner before Zanaska, who should indeed come through for second place. So Safrazad in 1, Zanaska in 2. We're watching Knudsen and Mr. X100, and Knudsen has got the lead on X100, third place. Knudsen comes up and takes third. X100 coming up through that pack to take fourth. Popovic, Kirschmer, and Nair are fighting back for the next position. They're fighting for fifth. We are in with Popovic to take a look at that.
Well, I think that's going to be the ceiling of the team win for Safrazad and Mr. X100 and Pablo Popovic, who's about to come in and over the line any second. And that is quite simply because of the times they've put in. They're going to be the fastest. They've got 3 riders in the top 5. It's January. I tell you something, these guys go well in the early part of the season. We saw them last spring dominating the race, and they're doing the same again. Great ride by Stefan Kirschmeyer here. He comes through 49 seconds down on our winner, but in 6th place. Great top 10 for him. Same for Zach Nair there. Nair coming through inside a minute of Safrazad, which on that race route and on such an aggressive race, another great performance with Italian gelato rider Johan Norris showing that his form is not just temporary. Behind then is going to be a Reno coming through for the Falcon squad by the look of it as they go up and over the line. So great riding as Restrepo. Oh, fast, close battle there. Restrepo just takes it from Simeo. They were half a second separated them last time. Oh, look at that. It's going to be about the same. It's going to be 0.2 of a second separating them this time around. So it is Restrepo going through from Simeo there. Absolutely amazing ride by our riders, and it's been great watching all of the action. Don't forget, of course, this results table live. It'll be updated on the MyWhoosh.com website. That's www.mywhoosh.com. Go on there for all of your results on the way through in your categories. So, qualifier race number 3. Our leaders are in and done. Emma, it's been cracking action here today.
It has indeed. Big packs, big riding, and fast racing for us on qualifier race number 3 on the 15th of January.
So from Emma, from myself and Matt Payne, and from all of the amazing team at MyWhoosh, it's been great to put words to the action. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.